Hello, everyone, and welcome to Past Life, Present Power with Derek Jameson. This is my second episode of the series. Now, originally, I was going to interview someone I have had a past life regression with to give you information from them firsthand and share what they wanted to share with you. But this past weekend, I had bought myself a birthday gift, and that was a contact retreat with one of my favorite channelers that is on the planet, and her name is Lisa Royal Holt. She channels different beings, and they bring forward information about our galactic history, information about healing, stuff that will allow us to be within our power and help to live healed, abundant, and beautiful lives. So I decided that I would do this contract retreat this weekend. And when I did, I really didn't know what to expect. But what took place was an uncovering of even deeper layers of my own past lives. So that's kind of what I want to talk to you about today, was what I learned. I do have some of my notes that I took from the contact retreat right here before me if I want to reference anything that I think would benefit you or that you could learn from. So the reason why I wanted to talk about this was because a lot of the information that came forward was about our galactic history as human beings and understanding the cycles that humanity and our planet has gone through and why certain consciousnesses or ET races can work with us. And the reason why I talk about ET races and collective consciousnesses because that is a huge part of my work, what I do, and what I am connected to. So I know that I am meant to share this information with everyone that is ready to listen. So I did this retreat so that I could be able to open up new channels for myself, make deeper connections with my teams out in the non-physical that would allow me to help everyone else even more. And that's really the true goal, is just being able to provide a higher level of information, of service, of healing and help to all of the people that I come across or that may listen to my podcast or join me on Instagram or whatever social media platforms that people do. So what I wanted to begin with was understanding that I was going into this experience in order to make a deeper connection, download new information, but what I experienced was on another level. So Lisa Royal Holt, she channels a being named Sasha, who is a Pleiadian female. She also channels other beings that come through as well, but Sasha is one of the main entities that she channels. And Sasha was basically giving us the galactic information that would help us move through a third density consciousness, is where we have been coming from, and moving in to the fourth density consciousness, which is what we are waking up within. So as you can see, we've been moving from third density consciousness, which is so anchored into the ego and into the past pains and traumas. And we're learning how to integrate more self-love and light into our beings, which allows us to move into higher states of consciousness, which is that fourth density consciousness. But we cannot bring the old ways of what we were living by, the pains, the traumas, the narratives that we were holding on to from the third density. Guess what? They cannot come into the higher densities of consciousness. So what we were learning about was how to anchor and how to create practices that allow us to operate from a fourth density heart-centered consciousness instead of a third density solar plexus consciousness, if that makes sense. The reason why I wanted to include it with my Past Life, Present Power podcast and information was because the information that I found was so powerful to me that it allowed me to go into deeper layers of my own past life history, which are some of yours as well. So when we look at what we're doing here, why are we on the planet at this time? You've heard me talk about the fact that we are here to heal. We are here healing ourselves so that we can help heal others and create the pathways that allow that new higher consciousness to come through and to be birthed, right? Well, where does that come from? So we're going to take it to a little bit of galactic history where we look at the Pleiadians and the Sirians. Now, those of you that are not familiar with this kind of information, we're talking about the Pleiades star system and the Sirius star system. and the beings that are associated with that. Now, why do we talk about these particular two star races that are working with humanity? Well, they are known to be the closest related to human beings. If you want to think of it in a family sense, remember the as above, so below, and the microcosm is the macrocosm, right? So as you see yourself and you have parents, right? A mother and a father. Look at them as archetypes, okay? The mother, father, and you're the child, okay? It creates that triangle. Well, the Pleiadians and Sirians acted as what is known as the parental archetypes of humanity around 13,000 years ago and before. But what we do is we go through these 26,000 galactic cycles, right? Some of you know about these 26,000 year galactic cycles and some may not. This might be new information for you. There's an ascension cycle and a descension cycle. There's a wake cycle and a sleep cycle, as above, so below. Well, 13,000 years ago is when the Pleiadians, which acted as our mother nurturer archetypes, and the Sirians, which acted as our father protector archetypes, saw humanity moving into a sleep cycle. They were going into a sleep cycle that would create further separation from the source of all that is. They moved away from that, okay? And when they did that, the Sirians, father archetypes, the Pleiadians, mother archetypes, did not want to watch their child go through separation and a sleep cycle and to move away. They wanted to be nurturers and they wanted to protect them and help them. But guess what? We can never protect anything or prevent anything from happening that needs to happen. So just like you want to do what you need to do for you and experience what you need to do, doesn't mean your parents are going to agree with that, right? And they try to step in and control the outcomes. But you're going to do what you need to do no matter what, right? So it doesn't matter what takes place within that particular expression. We're going to do what needs to happen. So at the point 13,000 years ago, where we went into a sleep cycle, the Pleiadians, mother, the Sirians, father, had to retract themselves from the human experience, where humans had to go through their natural evolution and cycles. But what that caused was such a deep pain within humanity and within the Sirians and the Pleiadians. So the Sirians, who are the mother archetype, and the Pleiadians, who are the father archetype, felt like they were abandoning their child. Okay, they are abandoning humanity, the one thing that they created and wanted to be of service to and to help and to nurture, right? But at the same time as they felt like they were abandoning humanity, humanity felt abandoned, like something left them. Now think about it. People that have only a single parent and the father had left, they feel abandoned by their parent, right? It's the same kind of energy, just on a macro scale. So when we look at this experience and the wounds were created at that time, humanity had what was known and brought through the channeling this weekend was that there were two main things to be healed. One is the fear of being open to receive love because the fear of losing it, right? You can sense those moments where you are so afraid to be open to receiving love that you shut everything down. You close it off. You don't even want to tempt it because you don't want to be hurt, right? That is what is one of the things that was a wound that was created within humanity that is begging, pleading to be healed right now. The other is the Sirian energy, which is the protective father energy, right? So the wound that has to be healed within that is this wound of feeling like that we're vulnerable, the fear of vulnerability, the fear of not being protected. Okay, so we have these two big fears that are holding us back from moving into that fourth density consciousness as humanity. Now, as some of us have been working through that, there are many who are not working through that. So if we can deeply understand where these wounds come from of fear of vulnerability, fear of being open to receiving love, then we can understand that we can begin to heal it and work with those energies so that we can all move up together. Okay, so that's a little bit of backstory, and we're moving into that fourth density consciousness. So that energy is surfacing where it's saying, hey, you have autonomy. You have the power. You don't have to be afraid of being vulnerable. You don't have to be afraid that you're alone. You have it within you. We are supporting you, but we are allowing you to move through your experience, okay? Then you have the Pleiadian mother energy that is saying, we are here nurturing you. We are still protecting you. We are there with you. We just have to do it from afar. But as we raise our consciousness, they begin to step in further to help guide us and nurture us and help us along the way, because we are waking up. Winter is what is known as the sleep cycle, okay? And then we kind of come out of that and we begin to awake in the autumn cycle. So that's where you see this big transformation and change taking place. This is information that I came across this weekend as we were in these workshops and this retreat. And I just felt like it was important to give a little bit of information and share what I learned. Those of you that are interested in a contact retreat or doing anything with Lisa, she has a YouTube. She's amazing. I highly recommend it. She is the one who created the galactic heritage cards, where it shows the timeline of that history in a not linear sense, because obviously it's all quantum, but it still gives you an idea of how you can work with the energies and understand which energies are working with you the most. So I wanted to go into that a bit. And what I was met with personally with this particular experience was, as we were grounding this new fourth density consciousness through sacred geometry, and understanding what geometries are working with us, and learning all this beautiful Sanskrit and tonalities that we can begin to create through our voice, I was also met with parts of myself that had to be healed. The parts that I was unaware of or didn't know needed that next level. But there they were, presenting themselves, and I was taking the opportunity. So the first thing that we did was a ceremony with the Pleiadian mothers. That's going to make more sense to people that understand that. I'm not going to get too much into ET races and things like that, but what took place was the group of people that we were all meeting with, these Pleiadian mothers came forward to bring in healing and bring in nurturing, to heal the parts of ourselves that we feel are not open to receiving love. Because if we are closed off, we are not going to receive that higher guidance. We're not going to ascend, because in the end, it's all unconditional love. It's light. So we must be willing to open if we're going to receive anything. Because if you want something yet you're not open to receiving it, you're not going to get it. So as we began to do this ceremony, it was definitely a ceremony. The visualizations that were taking place were so profound. These beautiful circles, and these Pleiadian mothers stepped in to work with us. Now, I'm just going to say my personal experience, and I'm going to leave it at that, because I can't speak for other people. But what I sensed was, I was in the meditation, and all of a sudden I felt as if an energy was holding my head and bracing my head and creating a container around my head, which is interesting, because you would think of open to receiving love would be more of a heart chakra kind of energy, or opening your heart. But instead, for me, it was cerebral. It was like almost like the thoughts that were ingrained in my brain that affected my body and my chakra system was what needed to be worked on and to be reconfigured. So I sensed this deep energetic work happening around my head. And I also felt so much love in my heart. But it was mostly here in my head that this work, this energy was being done on. It felt like a container or like a helmet, and I was being worked with by these Pleiadian mothers. In the end, they left a beautiful gift that will allow me to tap into that level of healing if I need to be more open to receiving love. And then we moved on from there. So after that personal experience, I had asked Sasha, which is the being that is channeled by Lisa, what about an experience I've been having. And here's where more of my past life, present power information is coming through, because, and this is the main reason why I wanted to make this, was for this. So I asked this question and I said, now I know that everything we are met with is a reflection of us. So if we are met with a challenging experience with a spirit energy or a physical person or anything that meets us with a challenge, it is an aspect of us that is asking for something. It's an aspect of us that is asking us to show up to it. Now, when I have spirit encounters that can be challenging to me, I always have to, first of all, stand my ground and set my boundaries. But I also have to take the responsibility that this experience I am encountering is something for me to learn from. So I can have experiences with lower astral beings, what some people consider demons, or lower frequency energies, chaotic energies that come because I can guide them to the light. I can show them how to get into the light. But there are also other energies that are versions of me from the past that are much more intense. There's also experiences with chaotic energy that only knows how to express itself one way. So I can't say that the thing is negative or bad, because who's to say that that's negative or bad? It is simply an energy that it's expressing itself the way that it is, okay? So I wanted to ground that first. So the thing that's been happening within the last 6 months, to be honest with you, has been this energy that's been kind of coming at my energy field, I'll say. It's been very aggressive and forceful. And I could feel it during meditation, kind of like trying to bash through my energy field, because I set up an energy field, it's a whole thing. I can feel it trying to like bash through as if it's like punching through this energy field that I have around me. And I sit there going like, oh my gosh, what is that? And I say, only unconditional love. Only unconditional love is welcome here. Like, please don't do that. Let's just not. And so it would go away. But progressively, as this began to happen more and more, it became more and more aggressive. And one time before my birthday, I experienced it almost pushing through in a more wakeful state, but I was still in a trance. And it was pushing through and really trying to forcefully get to me. And it created a little bit of fear within me, because I was like, if this was a higher guidance energy, it wouldn't express itself through forceful aggression, right? It's just not the energy that it resonates with. So I'm sitting here trying to unpack it. Well, my birthday comes, which is July 11th. And the next day I go home to my hometown, San Jose, and I stay there the night before going to Yosemite. And that night I was watching Jurassic Park, naturally, because it's what I do. For some reason, it's always on in San Jose when I go. That and Legends of the Fall, for some weird reason. So I watched Jurassic Park. It's a very specific scene. I was very awake. And for the first time being fully awake, I experienced that entity once again meet me and try to push through my field and to my physical body. Because I was awake and it was very aggressive and forceful, and it almost pulled my brain waves down, and I felt very overwhelmed and very invaded. And I was awake, like fully awake. I could tell you the scene of Ellie Sattler trying to look for Alan in the T-Rex paddock. Like, that's how awake I was watching it. And it just came at me. And it was so forceful that I could feel it physically permeating my chest cavity. And I really freaked out because I know that something cannot take over me. Nothing can possess me, right? Nothing that I don't give power to or believe in can do that. So I was really disconcerted because this energy was so powerfully coming, like this, it became a very physical experience. So I fought through it. I stood my ground. I stood up at the foot of the bed. I said, absolutely not. I set my boundaries. I did my whole thing. Did not bother me after that. But I did have fear around it for the very first time, a fear that I haven't felt before. As the night went on and the next day, all that fear released. But I still didn't understand why this had progressively getting worse. So cut to the retreat yesterday. I began to ask the question. I said, now I know that these are mirror reflections of us. Now, if I know that, why is an entity being very aggressive and forceful in this way? How am I supposed to process that when I know that something is a mirror reflection of me or is me? And the information that came through was stated that, first of all, Sasha had to give a disclaimer to everyone saying that this particular incident is very particular to me. It's very directed at me, but that we can all use it as an idea of how to navigate challenging experiences like this, which is also why I shared it with the group. And the group is like 40, 43 people, something like that. So I began to, and they were all in Japan, by the way, besides like 3. So I began to tell the story and say that. And Sasha said that for me, it was a very ancient energy that is associated with the Orion timelines, as well as deep ancient Egypt. And that, that these were parts of myself that I did not want to face, or I did not want to fully recognize or see, but that are ready to integrate with me. And sometimes something happens so forcefully and so aggressively because it has to make you pay attention to this particular lesson. And so as this progressively got worse and I was resisting, I was still creating resistance to the thing because it was aggressive, right? I was still basically resisting an aspect of myself. And Sasha stated that this does deal with timelines in which were not my highest and best, but that were still part of me, that stem from the Orion timelines. Now, some of you know that the Orion Wars and the Orion stories are actually where Dune and Star Wars and other films like that are stemming from. These are channeled without knowing that they are channeled. But some people that are the writers of them kind of know what they're talking about. So these storylines are what are being expressed through our film and media to get us to remember them, which is why so many people connect with those stories, or why else would they connect with it so deeply, right? So it was expressed to the group that these are my Orion timelines in which we're not the highest and best versions of me, which I felt it, I knew it, it was so much truth. She also stated that this carried into ancient Egypt and some of the practices that were carried out in ancient Egypt. That aspect of me is coming in so hard because I can no longer deny those parts of me that are asking to be integrated. Now, why is that? Well, it's because we have to heal and move into that 4th density, but we cannot do that if we're working from a 3rd density consciousness, if we're working from pain, fear, and we're holding on to traumas and all of those narratives. We cannot do it. And so this part of myself, which is a very aggressive energy, it expresses itself that way. It doesn't mean it's bad. It's just the only way that they know how to express themselves, which again, is me, right? So I have to be in the space to take responsibility that that energy is really me teaching me about me, asking me to love it too. And now I thought I did that. I thought I had integrated some parts of myself. I said, I love you too. That's a dark part of me. Yes, we're here. But guess what? Once we reach new levels of our own consciousness, we're going to reach new levels of our own true selves and our true essence and being that still exist, right? Now, we all know that our true essence is that of unconditional love, but that doesn't mean that aspects of ourselves that cast the shadow aren't also part of that experience. So I had this experience. They explained the whole thing, that this is me that is asking so desperately to be integrated with it at this time. And I felt the activation within my body on a level I have not felt before. It was like, Derek, just trust yourself. You knew that this was an aspect of yourself. You knew that this was part of you that is just asking you to see it. I don't necessarily need somebody to tell me that, but the fact that a being that I trust and the information that comes through this group, this beautiful experience I had, I felt the truth in that so much. And I know that I have those timelines in those spaces. So it was really good for everybody to hear that. There was more to it, you know, there's a lot more to it, but it's really good for people to hear that stuff so that they begin to alchemize the fear that they have about an entity that's coming to visit them. Because this is a past life version of me that's asking to be healed or integrated. So even with that, I can't deny that part of myself because that's the part that's giving me the power. That's the part that says, I have the power for you for right now, Derek. You have to integrate me. You have to love me. You have to see that I am you so that you can also activate your highest power potential in this lifetime. The one you're focused on, the one you're here to carry people from third density into fourth density. You must be willing and open to receiving love. Do you see how that comes back around now? We have to be willing and open to receiving that gift. All right. So after that, Sasha closes that out with saying, the next ceremony we are about to do is a Sirian ceremony, which is about the fear of not being protected, fear of vulnerability. And that is going to break up a lot of what is going on within you during that ceremony. So when we stepped into that ceremony, we took a break, we stepped into that ceremony, we had the Syrian masters step forward in a very specific formation, these triangles, and we had our contact team in a big circle. It was so incredible, so beautiful. And I had this Syrian master who has worked with me before. When Atreides, my dog that some of you know of, when Atreides was going through, when we were having our experience that was very challenging, this is the same master, I believe, that had come forward at this time. So this master was going to show me now the things I needed to see and the healing I needed to go through, because it was a healing ceremony. So as we went through this experience, I saw myself being led down a hallway, like a celestial hallway. And the next thing I see is a bunch of really dark stuff. I started seeing like red and black. And then I would see large like insects, like really large insects, different kinds, ones that people are disgusted by, right? And then I would also see these beasts. They were looking like dragons, but they were like not dragons. And it was like black and red, and these claws would come out, and like I saw this like claws grabbing this energy and like pulling it in, and I just saw black and red, look like fire or caverns, but not hell. It's not a hell. So I'm looking at this whole experience like without fear. I just sat there because I was being guided into these visions by my Syrian master that was stepping through to show me aspects of myself, the dark parts that want to be integrated and healed, and that we must walk through that pathway and see parts of ourselves in order to integrate it. We must be willing and open to receiving that kind of love as well. Okay, so that's not to say, oh, I'm gonna do all this dark stuff. It's just acknowledging that your soul has had a journey, and that every single person that is here has their dark polarities as well, and that we cannot deny it or resist it. Every single one of you in past lives has your darker polarity energy existing somewhere. This just happens to be mine, the ones that I was shown. I mean, it was like dark vision after dark vision after dark vision, but I had no fear. I just observed it and I looked at it. I was like, there's an insect. That's a really large insect. Oh, that's like a dragon beast creature that does not look sweet. Oh, that doesn't look like, I mean, I was seeing some things. So when I came out of it, I was like, wow, I had no fear around that. And all of that was part of my own Akashic records. All of that was part of me. And there was nothing to fear because I had no fear. I trusted myself. It was almost like me asking the question and being faced with the truth, and that the parts that I was experiencing, the aggressive energy, was me. It's almost like because I was willing and open to receiving that information, it like cleared the fear. And now I was able to move forward and see these visions that would then might challenge me or might create an understanding about my past, about my galactic past. So you see some of my past life information that comes through might not be linear. It might not be in this lifetime. Some of the things that I see, a lot of the things that I see are galactic in nature, the other realms and realities. And I've come to accept that. And even the first vision I had during our galactic meditation the night before was I saw the pantheon of ancient Egyptian gods and goddesses come forward, and they converged into one entity being and presented themselves that way. So the information I get can tend to be a little bit different, but you are also all receiving information that tell you about your Akashic history and your soul's history, what you're doing here. And the more you obtain that information and allow that information through dreams, meditations, waking life, and every other which way, you're going to be able to take that and use that power for any benefit for your life, because you will no longer be afraid of your power. And that's really what it is. Because me being afraid of a dark part of myself from a past lifetime, it's not this lifetime, it's a past lifetime. Me being afraid of that is me being afraid of my own power, that my power can be used to cause harm or is dark. But it's not about the fact that we all have dark pasts or dark histories in past lives. It's about what we do with the knowledge of that, what we choose to do after that. What you choose to do with the awareness that you are given is the important aspect. So this weekend, of my birthday, entering a whole new era, and I am given information on a deeper level for myself that helps me help others so much more. So now let's take it back to the story that we talked about, feeling of abandonment, that our parents had abandoned us, right? Well, now we are waking up. So now we are connecting with our parents again, our archetypal parents. We're connecting with our star families. We're connecting with love. And the more we reach into love and the more we raise our vibration, the more we are able to tune into those higher aspects of who we are. The more that the ET friends and the star families are going to help and to assist us along the way, because of our own healing, because of our own openness to receiving love. So my question for you is, in what ways can you be more open to receiving love? And in what ways can you release the fear of vulnerability? If I have a retreat like this, it's information that I obtain, and it's like, I want to be able to share that with you because I want you to all download that information. I know not everybody's going to go do the things I do. Nobody's going to go do a galactic activation of the mystery school. Nobody's going to do a galactic retreat, cosmic ET retreat. Nobody's going to do mystery school. Like, we're not all doing that, but we're all ready to ascend entire aspects. So when I hear something and it calls within me, I want to share my experience with you so that you can find out how you can step into higher levels of your own experience of love. So I hope that helps to explain some things. I talked a little bit about how we went into a sleep cycle 13,000 years ago, and now we're waking up and going into an ascension cycle. That is, you'll find that information said in different ways by different spiritual teachers and leaders. That completes the 26,000-year galactic cycle, because it has to be split into 13,000 years, right? The sleep cycle and the wake cycle, okay? And the whole reason why we have Sirians and Pleiadians working with us so closely is because those are our closest parent energies that never wanted to abandon us, but they had to let humanity go on its journey. They had to let Earth take its evolution without controlling the outcome. Because when we try to control outcomes, we don't allow the flow of the universe to unfold in its divine order, and things cannot be learned the way it needs to be learned. Remember, everything is within the mind of the all, the mind of God, the mind of the universe. It's all a thought. I am a thought, you are a thought, everything is a thought. It's all reverberations of energy interacting with each other. And in quantum mechanics, you're thinking about the unified field, the string theory, everything interacting with each other, creating these beautiful moments, reverberations to create everything within existence. Okay, so as we begin to integrate this information, integrate back into oneness rather than separate, which is what we are doing, we are going to have access to higher and higher levels of information. I am so excited that we are on this journey together, whoever may listen to this and watch these. I am so glad that you are ready to integrate those higher levels of your own personal power here in this lifetime. Please subscribe. Please stay tuned. Please message me with anything that sounds cool to you. And I cannot wait to see you in this lifetime and in another. This is Derek Jameson, and I will talk to you soon.